Today we will be building this dungeon room, complete with shackles and a mummy miniature. How are you today? Art Jeremiah here, and I'm back with another video about building a dungeon. If you want regular inspiration, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell below. And now we'll just jump right into that video. I originally wanted to make a cage full of undead for this room, but there just was not enough space for that sort of thing. So instead, I decided to go with crafting some wall shackles and an undead mini-boss represented by a Reaper Miniatures mummy. The wall shackles will basically be made out of the insides of ballpoint pens, chain, and some jewelry pins. If you are interested in purchasing these supplies and other supplies through Amazon, then purchase from the links in the description and it will help support this channel at no extra cost to you. The first thing we're going to do is take out the insides of a pen and start slicing. These pieces will represent the wrist cuff part of our shackles. So, we want the size of the pieces to look like they will fit around the rest of the miniature. Listen up, it is really easy to lose these little pieces, so I would definitely recommend putting them in a container rather than do what I'm doing and letting them roll off the table into eternity. It was a bit hard to cut them even, so I evened them out with a pair of clippers and a nail file while holding them with jewelry pliers. Next, I take out my jewelry pins and clip them down to size. I'm clipping them about a centimeter in length. And again, these little guys are easy to lose, so I would recommend storing them in a container as you work. First off with this next part, I really struggled with how I wanted to attach the cuffs to the chains. In the end, I decided to bend little pieces of my jewelry pins into shape with my round-nosed pliers. These U-shapes were simple enough to make. I just twisted the end on the pin and clipped off the U sections. I apologize for the blurry footage, but I wanted to show you how I went about this process. The next part took so much patience and by far was the most troubling part of the build. Gluing the U-shapes to the pen pieces was pretty straightforward, but it did take some time. This is when I considered running to the kitchen to grab some baking soda catalyst, but I got determined and just pushed my way through. Now, gluing the chains to the U-shapes. That's when things got really complicated. At this point, I decided I didn't want to fiddle around with things too much. So I unattached all the U-pieces from the previous step and started gluing the chains straight to the cuffs. Which, well, it was difficult. It's hard to see exactly what I'm doing, but I am cutting the very end off of a single chain link and gluing that to the cuff. That took quite a bit of dexterity, and I don't know if I would recommend that you do it this way. It was really annoying, and I had a hard time sticking the metal and the plastic pieces together. Once I finally got all the pieces glued together, I gave them all a little extra squirt of superglue. As you may have seen in an earlier video, I have squirted superglue on parchment paper, and it did not stick. I also glued some chains onto the mummy miniature by Reaper Bones, just around its wrist so it looks like he broke free from his bonds. I put him on parchment paper as well and soak his chains with superglue so that they are stiff and easy to paint. You know how I said parchment paper wouldn't stick to superglue? Well, that wasn't really the case this time. I'm not sure why. I used the same glue on everything. Maybe because I let it sit longer than last time, or the side of the paper matters, I don't know. Whatever the reason, it still didn't stick that much, so I was able to scrape off the paper with a knife. Unfortunately, I seem to have misplaced that footage or forgot to film it or something, but there really wasn't much there to see. In order not to lose pieces while spraying, I've attached the chains to a piece of foam board with jewelry pins I chopped down to size earlier in the video. I also attached the miniature to the board with some blue tack. Now watch the dog Milo get bored while I spray these pieces. I tested the size of chains compared to the height of the dungeon walls and decided they were way too long, so I cut them down to the appropriate height before going to the next step. I also save all the pieces of chain. I will still use them in this build. I decided to cut one of the shackles in half so it looks like it has been broken off the wall. Next, I push all the pins into the walls. I soak the chains and the walls in Mod Podge and make sure they are attached to the wall. Also, any spare bits of chain I glue to the floor. Confession here, this is the first time I've used Mod Podge, and I've been building terrain for 20 plus years. It's not too shabby though. I mean, It may need to grow on me a little more, but it's not too shabby. While that's drying, I paint up the mummy miniature. This is going to be the same quick and easy miniature painting technique I used in the video where we painted the undead horde of miniatures. Basically, I overbrushed the entire miniature in Vallejo basalt gray. Dry brushed the top 2/3 of the mini in a 50-50 mix of basalt gray and ivory. Then lightly dry brush the top third with ivory. I then do some ink glazes to bring some color to the miniature. If you're interested in the details of this process, watch the video where I paint the undead horde of miniatures, fast but good. The link is on the screen now, but if you could finish this video first, it would be much appreciated. Any area that I wanted to paint metallic, I first blacked out and then paint with oily steel and bronze. Alright, after the Mod Podge is completely dry, I overbrushed the Shackles with a coat of Vallejo oily steel. Pretty straightforward paint job here. I just make sure to leave black in all the recess areas. After that, I add a little more visual interest with some Vallejo bronze. I just dab this randomly on about 1/3 of the areas. For the final step, I decided to add a black ink wash to the metal. It was extra dark, so I dabbed the excess ink off with a tissue. The highlighted comment from last video is from Earthman Brick, who said, "Great work, man, another finely produced video. Really nice work on making the tools and racks." Hey Earthman Brick, how's it going? Thanks a lot. If you guys have not seen Earthman Brick's channel, he is another excellent crafter and he dishes out videos like crazy, so definitely check it out. I will have a link to his channel in the description if you are interested. And then I realized, after I posted the last video, that I forgot to mention the highlighted comment from 2 videos ago. That one was from Christopher Branson, who said, "I'm with you on pewter being better. I do like the idea of rendering my own designs for print though. Much more time consuming, but I still like the idea. Keep up the good content." He is referring to me painting a horde of 3D minis. That's the same video I've been talking about here in this video, so if you want to see that video, go ahead and check the description. I just did a little review for 3D printed minis at the same time as painting the undead horde, so that's what he's talking about there. If you are enjoying this video, then I would recommend checking out my Patreon page, where you can find extra footage of videos like this one and other videos that I've done in the past. Like this video. Liking this video is very important to the analytics and it will get it out to more crafters like you and me. If you have a channel of your own, don't forget to drop a comment down below. I do a highlighted comment every video, or I try to. Last video I forgot, but that's fine. I'm blabbing. I'm doing what I can to put more effort into these videos, give you quality content. I would love to get these videos to the point that I can post them every week. That's a little bit hard considering the time I need to put into each video production, especially for the Building a Dungeon series, which I'm going to continue. I think I'm even going to continue after I finish this dungeon. We're almost halfway through the dungeon. We just finished the cavernous part of the dungeon. Next time it's going to be, I don't know what, but it's definitely going to be some ancient ruins. Like, the story behind the dungeon is that there was these miners and they were digging and mining, whatever miners do, to go through the ground and find their whole ores and all that stuff. And they found some mystical ore, which we covered in another video. So if you haven't seen that, I would definitely go back and watch that. It's really close to peacock ore, but brighter. I think to be able to get more videos out, I need to have like smaller ones every week, and it's gonna be hard to do it every week. What I wouldn't do to do it more than once a week, that would be amazing. But for now, the goal is every 2 weeks, and I'm getting 1 or 2 days behind that. I might do some cheap and easy videos. A lot of people like my cheap and easy terrain builds, and a lot of people like my crystals. A lot of people like the Building a Dungeon. We're coming up on 1,000 subscribers, and when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm doing a giveaway on my social media. Yeah, I think that's everything.